Hello and welcome back to Everything Boats with Captain Frank Lanier, where we discuss boats and boating, from maintenance and repairs to seamanship and safety, as well as everything in between. This podcast is a companion to my YouTube channel of the same name, so if you like and find it useful, be sure to subscribe and please check out my YouTube channel as well, where you'll find hundreds of informative videos on pretty much every boating topic imaginable.
So today we're going to be talking about hose clamps. I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but what we're going to be talking about today, three things. Three things you think you know about hose clamps, but you really don't. Hose clamps, they seem simple enough. It's a mechanical device, the sole purpose of which is to hold hose or ducting firmly in place. As with most things, however, simplicity can be deceiving. Proper marine-grade hose clamps must be designed and constructed to function and last in the harsh marine environment. Many hose clamps on the market today, they fail miserably at both. Here's a few things of what to look for in your hose clamps and how to prevent things from heading south when you're choosing them and installing them. First tip, material. Most marine-grade hose clamps will be constructed of high-grade stainless steel. Titanium hose clamps are also available, and they provide the ultimate in strength and corrosion resistance. Although more expensive, titanium hose clamps will never rust, and they're both 40% stronger and lighter than their stainless steel counterparts. Many non-marine grade hose clamps, such as those found in your automotive stores and your big box hardware stores, will feature zinc-plated or mild steel components. Perfect example of this, the screw that's used in the hose clamp to bind everything together. You may have a stainless steel hose clamp or band, and then they use a steel or zinc-plated screw in there, and that thing rusts and rots out, and it can do that rapidly in the marine environment, and then it causes the hose clamp to fail. So while you always want to use good marine-grade stainless steel hose clamps, keep in mind that all stainless steel is not created equal. The best choice for marine use is 3/16 stainless steel. Cheaper clamps may use 304, a lesser grade stainless steel that lacks molybdenum, making them more susceptible to corrosion and early failure. The use of a magnet when buying your hose clamps will tell you if there's any non-stainless steel components used, such as the screw and trawl or the housing, for the trawl that we mentioned earlier. However, it will not indicate the quality of the stainless steel. The best way to ensure you're buying quality marine-grade stainless steel hose clamps is to buy name brands from established, well-known companies. Big item number 2 is the design of your hose clamp. A typical hose clamp will have either a perforated band where the screw thread is stamped, or an embossed band where the thread is formed into the band without cutting holes. The embossed band hose clamps are the better choice. The perforated clamps, the ones that have the holes in them, they're weaker, and the holes remove metal, which reduces the strength of the hose clamp. These holes create a starting point for corrosion and can also damage the hose itself when tightening the clamp. Hose clamps that feature a smooth underside and a band that's with beveled edges, in other words, the edges are turned or curled upward, are the best choice to prevent hose damage while you're installing your hose clamps. Another type of hose clamp is the T-bolt clamp, which features a T-bolt mechanism and a hex nut. Tightening the nut on the end of the threaded bolt forces the two pieces towards each other, tightening the clamp. T-bolt hose clamps are more of a specialty clamp and are used to secure exhaust system hose or shaft lock hose connections. They're strong, and they typically are more robust than a typical hose clamp. So the last thing we're going to talk about, installation. While hose clamps can be tightened to the proper torque using a screwdriver, the best tool to use is a nut driver, which is less prone to slipping when tightening. Never use a ratchet, which can easily over-tighten the clamp and possibly damage the clamp or the hose itself. And let's talk a little bit about double hose clamps. Double hose clamps should only be installed where there is sufficient length of the hose barb available and hose end overlap to allow it. Hose clamps should be installed no closer than 1/4 inch to the end of the hose, and it must firmly engage the barb. A clamp that extends over the tailpipe or hose barb is cutting into the hose or forcing the hose to be cut internally by the fitting. That's an incorrect installation. In such cases where double hose clamps are required, but you don't have a sufficient hose barb length to allow it, what you want to do is You got two choices. You're either going to replace the hose barb or the tailpipe. This is what you're clamping your hose to. You either got to replace it to put a longer in there where you have sufficient room to install the hose clamp, or you may also use one hose clamp instead of two, but it needs to be a larger, more robust hose clamp than your typical, your hose clamp piece. You want to use one of those methods. You don't want to just install the double hose clamp blindly, where, as I mentioned earlier, you're cutting into the hose clamp. That's a bad installation. Double hose clamp should be separated by at least 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch if possibly, and with the screws located on opposite sides of the hose. In other words, you'll have the screw available on one side here, and then for the other one, will be on the other side. Finally, use the correct size of hose clamp for the job at hand. As a marine surveyor, I often see hose clamp installations that have 1 or 2 inches of excess band sticking out, eagerly waiting to rip clothes or snag and tear your flesh at every opportunity they can get. In addition to using the proper size hose clamp, meaning less excessive band, it's also a good idea to install hose clamp covers or safety guards. These are the protective or plastic covers that slip on the exposed end of tails or worm gear hose clamps or T-bolt studs to protect you against scrapes and cuts. They're cheap and readily available online. However, a piece of electrical tape heat shrink placed over the end of it and heated up to shrink it down. That'll serve in a pinch. These things, man, you can buy these hose clamp protectors, these ends, buy them online, for a bag of them for like $1 or so. So well worth the money you're going to spend, particularly after that first time that one of them grabs your arm and opens it up.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And if so, and you want to buy Captain Frank a cup of coffee, please click on the support link in the text description below. All monies received, not spent on coffee, will go towards making even more awesome podcasts for my channel. And as always, thank you for your support.